Create a program that computes a student's test average. Begin with a list of 5 grades and then send the list to a function that computes and prints the test average. To increase the complexity of your program, allow the user to input the 5 grades one by one using a loop. Alright, so let's start with a list called grades, and we'll put all of our grades in it. I'm just going to use these grades here. 65, 78, 93, 82, 95. Alright, so there's our list of 5 grades. Now, if we wanted to just create a simple top-down program that computed the average and printed it, we could say sum equals 0. Then we could loop through each grade. So for x in grades, we're going to add that grade to the sum. So as we iterate through this list, we're going to add each number to sum. At the end of that loop, we will have added together all of these numbers. So we just print your average is, concatenate on the sum divided by the number of grades in the list, which is 5. And we need to change this to a string. All right, and we run it. Your average is 82.6, and that's correct. So let's now convert this to use a function instead of just this straightforward code here. So def compute average, we're going to send a list to it. So we'll say grade list. We could call it grades, but I like to use different variable names. All right, and then we can take this code out and put it inside of this function. Let me just make sure all my indents are correct. And then this one goes inside. Indents are very important in Python. All right, so all of this code is indented so that it belongs to this function. Okay, so now we can just call this function. We do have to switch a few things around. So instead of grades here, we're going to be iterating through grade list. And I think that's all we have to change. So now let's call compute average, and we're going to send the grades list. So if I run this, it's the same. So this works the same way as the previous code. But now we want to add some complexity. We want to allow the user to input the 5 grades one by one using a loop. So instead of having these grades here, we're going to start with an empty list. We're going to loop 5 times because that's how many grades we want. So for x in range 5, we are going to say enter a grade. In quotes. And then we want to append whatever they input onto the grades list. So grades.append, and we're going to say input. Now we need to wrap this in int. Let me make sure I have enough parentheses here. All right, so let's see. Enter grade. So I'm just going to use those same grades. 65, 78, 93, 82, 95. All right, and it says your average is 82.6, so it still works.